our June Lunch and Learn. I am Amanda Lakin, Communications and Outreach Coordinator for the Nevada Housing Coalition. Our Lunch and Learns are part of our educational platform, and they're normally held virtually on the fourth Wednesday of every month from 12 to 12:45. So this month we did push it by 1 week as we were very busy hosting our Nevada Housing Policy Forum in Reno and Las Vegas. So being in charge of membership and outreach, it was so great to meet many of you for the first time. And I also got to see some familiar faces, which was really great. And we also had a lot of you join recently as members. And I just want to say how appreciative we are of your membership and of your interest in the coalition. And a thank you also to those of you who recently renewed with us. So if policy is not your thing, which it is not for many of us, we hope that you will still consider joining our housing conference, which will be taking place on October 19th and 20th in Reno. We did just send out our June newsletter about an hour ago, so please check your emails. You'll find some more information on our conference as well as Elevate Nevada updates. So now I would like to introduce our moderator for today's session, the Coalition's Executive Director, Christine Hess.
Awesome, thanks so much, Amanda. And yeah, whew, what a whirlwind 7 days it's been talking all things policy. That said, we did not want to let this month escape, which is National Homeownership Month. And we want to make sure we talk about homeownership and what it means for affordable homeownership. And as our event group met and discussed what that looks like, we realized we were going to have two discussions. So we're excited today to talk about home ownership, especially from a rehabilitation perspective, weatherization, modernization of our homes, especially for all Nevadans, right? Including our lower income households and what that looks like for them, some of the programs we have available across our state. And there are more, by the way. So when you're on here, I know I see Rural Housing Authority, make sure you put your information on there. In there, and anybody else who has programs, please feel free to include that in the chat. Next month, we'll be talking a little more about down payment assistance, right? And actually purchasing homes in these difficult markets. But we'll have a part 1 and part 2. But with that, I am going to get started today and introduce our first speaker, Bob Cleveland, who is the director for the Rebuilding Together Southern Nevada chapter of the national organization. I say our, Bob, because I happen to sit on the board of Rebuilding Together Northern Nevada. And we strive to grow and be like our Southern partners. We're newer, of course, in the space, but I really look forward to hearing more and learning more, even myself, about all of the amazing work of Rebuilding Together Southern Nevada and sharing that with our audience. So, Bob, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Christine. Great introduction. And we're very happy to have you guys up north as well. We had a lot of phone calls for up north, and we had to refer them often to, I believe, Sacramento. It was the closest affiliate we could find. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about some of the different programs we have. Our bread and butter over 28 years has been our critical home repair program. And in that 28 years, we have provided 8,400 homes with some kind of preservation, whether that's replacing their air conditioner, their roof, their plumbing system. In the last several years, we've added accessibility modifications to that list, anything to help keep our low-income clients in their home. And we focus on a 25-point safe and healthy home checklist that we go through, and we do a full, complete inspection of the house. And any of those things that we find that are deficient, we go ahead and take care of it, no cost for the homeowner. But most people do call for their air conditioner or their roof, or the water heater is a real common one. And we'll go through and we'll get those repairs taken care of to them at no cost, like I said. And we moved away about 9 years ago from doing basic repairs and went to straight replacement. We found that we were often called out year after year for an air conditioner. To 1 year it was the blower motor, the next year it was a compressor, the next year it was some kind of fuse switch. So we decided to move forward with just replacing the entire unit. So now this low-income homeowner has a brand new unit with a 10-year warranty. So that helps take a little bit of pressure off of us and takes pressure off of them, hopefully for 10 years at least. That that program is funded mostly from private foundations and from CDBG funding from City of Las Vegas, City of North Las Vegas, City of Henderson, and unincorporated Clark County. We also recently received funding to go into Nye County and Pahrump, and we received some rural capacity funding to help us expand into Mesquite, Overton, Laughlin, and Boulder City. And I think we also hit Sloan this year once. So we're growing. We're trying to help as many people in Southern Nevada as we can, and again, learning from our Northern Nevada partner. All those smaller communities are super important. So we've also started a program this year. We've had trouble getting it going the last couple of years, but now we're up and going full speed with our Safe at Home program. That is a program that originally we were going to use to piggyback on our critical repair, but we've decided to expand it even further to anyone who calls and request these things be done, we will take care of. So we'll go into a home and replace smoke detectors, CO detectors, install fire extinguishers, repaint the curb numbers on the street, things that are small like that, even air filters, batteries for existing smoke detectors. It's things that we can do internally without hiring a contractor. We have partnerships with Moen, with Lowe's, with First Alert, with the Red Cross that allows us to get the materials for this specific program at no cost. So we're only having to come up with the salary for our 2 guys to do the installs. We anticipate this program at full speed will hit 1,000 homes a year. So, and if we could stop one fire from happening, it's worth every penny and every minute of time we put into it. And like I said, we decided to go ahead and anybody who calls, even if they're a renter or even if they're not low income, we'll go ahead and go do this because we feel it's so important. Again, if we can just stop one fire, it's worth it. So we also have our major home repair program that's based out of the City of Henderson and also the City of North Las Vegas. That allows us to do basically a whole home remodification where we'll go in and replace the air conditioner, the roof, doors, windows, attic insulation, appliances, and water fixtures. So we want to reduce their energy and water footprint by at least 50%. Usually it's about 65%. So right off the bat, they're going to have a new home basically, and their utility bills are going to go down about 60%. So we only do about 8 houses a year in North Las Vegas and about 7 houses a year in the City of Henderson. It's very, very impactful, and is one of the only programs that we have where the homeowner is required to sign a lien where they cannot sell the home. And I believe we're up to, it's come down to 7 years now. It used to be 15, but City of North Las Vegas reduced it down to 7 for us. That was a big sticking point. We also have a new program coming up now that we're extremely excited about. We've been pitching this to Optum Healthcare and a couple other hospitals over the last several years. And I think the state of Nevada, hopefully, maybe they're on the call, they'll hear this, they're going to help us get this funded. We have a trip and fall prevention program. As many of you guys know in this business, you'll have a senior, a low-income senior, or any senior, they'll have a trip and fall in their home. They'll go to the hospital, fractured hip, what have you, and they will be go through the surgery process, go through the rehab process at their rehab facility. Then they're sent right back into the same home that they had that trip and fall in, whether it was in the bathtub or going down the hallway with uneven carpet, what have you. They're sent right back in the exact same environment that caused that trip and fall to happen. We want to partner with an occupational therapist, and as these clients are discharged and sent back home, we want to go home with them and do a IHOPE assessment with the occupational therapist and allow the medical professional to tell us what needs to be done in the home. They need hard floors. Do they need a roll-in shower? Do they need grab bars? Do they need all of the above? Do they need something different? Whatever the occupational therapist tells us that they need is the work that we're going to provide. We're going to go ahead and do that. And I believe we've budgeted up to $25,000 per home in the grant request. But if we can prevent them from falling, that'll save close to $100,000. And the chances of them falling again are 75% without any home modifications done. If we can go in and do the home modifications, that number goes down to under 10% in our recent studies. We have an affiliate in Kansas City who does this on a regular basis. So we're very excited about that. We feel that once this program it gets installed and gets a couple years under its belt, and we follow these homeowners for another year or 2 years, having an occupational therapist go in and reassess the home afterwards, we can show how important it is to make these modifications and how cost effective it is to do it on the front end rather than continue to pay for the medical costs on the back end. And we feel strongly that the insurance companies and the hospitals will have to step up and get involved in helping to pay for this. I think it's a win for everybody. So that's an overview of some of the programs we provide at Rebuilding Together Southern Nevada. If you know anybody that needs help, please refer them to us. If we can't help them, we'll find a way to get them help through somebody else.
Man, that was so awesome, Bob. And I have like a list of questions.
Okay.
And I'm going to we'll definitely have a Q&A at the end for all of you, because I think a lot of the questions will cross over. But I do actually just, if you don't mind, Bob, if I just ask you a couple questions specific to some of your comments. And I'm going to start actually with a comment that's in our Q&A from Carol in Senator Cortez Masto's office. Love all the work of our congressional delegates, and especially appreciate Senator Cortez Masto's focus on affordable home ownership. So Carol's question: Rebuild Together provides free repairs to a limited number of families a year. If eligible families could access low interest loans through mortgage revenue bonds or HELOCs or other financing, would Rebuilding Together be able to serve more families? So it's a two-part question. Would families be able to afford servicing the debt on a loan with the savings from replaced and more efficient HVACs?
I'll answer the second part first. Our average client lives off $23,000 a year. Adding any kind of payment on that loan, we're looking at, most of our repairs are sitting in the $10,000 range now. Air conditioners we haven't been hit too hard on, but roofs have gone through the roof. We're getting bids in for roofs now in the $15,000 to $18,000 range, which is really hurting the amount of people we can serve. But to have a low-income senior, a 70-year-old senior who probably only has 5 to 10 years left in that house anyway, to have an additional payment, I think would be a struggle. Now, I don't know what kind of numbers we're talking about, but anything over $100 would be a significant impact to them. I mean, most of these people are often choosing between medicine and food before we came out for a $5,000 or $10,000 repair. Adding another thing like that might not be feasible. We would love to look at that if that's something we can help with. I think us and like Habitat and other Help Us Southern Nevada, we have incredible partnerships with our contractors. I had just had a friend call me, needed their air conditioner replaced, and they were looking at $10,000 to $12,000. We sent them to our partner, and their cost will be about $7,500. Our partners take extremely good care of us. They take extremely good care of our clients, and they're generally about 25 to 30% below what you would pay outside of the partnership.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. And I am going to move us along because Kirsten just tapped me at how interconnected all of our panelists and the conversations are today. Carol, I think Kirsten's going to also address some things. One of the things I noted as you talked about that, and obviously it's a fixed income I had envisioned, actually, when you said $23,000 a year, I had envisioned fixed income senior. I had envisioned 30% of area median income. And as I think about our opportunities to do more for our low income Nevadans, do we have some gaps to address those, in below 80% of area median income, for example? But we'll get to that, Bob. Thank you. That was incredible. And that is the work in Southern Nevada. I saw some comments there. And I love too, Bob, how, one, you participate in the policy forum, you're building relationships and connecting and networking in our communities in Southern Nevada. But when you talk about help, when you talk about the local governments, just the partnerships that you have and work with in Habitat, who's also really engaged with the coalition. It really excites me to know that everybody's working together, right, rowing in the same direction. And so as we look across our state, I often lean on my partner's Nevada Rural Housing Authority because it's an easy lean. My board chair is their director. But one of our members since the beginning, and a really active and engaged partner, an important role and a stakeholder in our rural areas, is RNDC, the Rural Nevada Development Corporation. And they have some excellent programs, and again, that go broader than our discussion today. But I'm very excited to welcome Doreen Venturino from RNDC to share about their programs, especially around weatherization. RNDC is based in Ely. So for everybody who thinks about Nevada's housing needs across the state, we certainly recognize and appreciate that our rural partners are active in our rural communities and can share some perspectives and insights into the rural. So Doreen, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Christine. So hello, everybody. My name is Doreen Venturino. I'm with Rural Nevada Development Corporation. We are a nonprofit located in Ely, Nevada. And like she said, we do service the rural areas of the state of Nevada. So that's a pretty big area. So today I'll be talking about two of our housing programs. We have the housing weatherization program, and we have the housing rehab program. So the rehab programs for homeowners. You would have to own your home, but the weatherization program is geared towards owners or renters, either one. The weatherization program provides energy conservation in the home. You do have to be at 150% of the federal poverty level to be eligible for that program. So that's a very, very low income guideline. This service is free, and it doesn't cost them anything. It is just a free service. We do have the way that kind of program works is we have an energy auditor that comes into the home. They do an audit of the home. They determine where they're losing energy, where they need, whether they need insulation or weather stripping or doors. They will do a full diagnostics of the home. Once that's done, they send that to me. We check the database to see what's eligible as far as SIRs. The SIR is mainly for Department of Energy funds. And then we secure the funds for the home. We send that to the contractor. The contractor then goes into the home, does an assessment of the home, and then sends me the estimate. We do kind of go off the estimate to see what we can spend on the home and what funds are available. Because as you know, there's not an unlimited amount of funding. So we do service 10 counties for this weatherization program. It can do quite a few things in a home. Some people don't have heat at all, or they don't have any air conditioning in the South. So any type of repair we can do to the home helps the homeowner greatly. Sometimes we have to leverage that with our homeowner housing rehab program if they're an owner. There are times that it's deferred because the home is too dilapidated for us to be able to do anything to it. In those instances, we do have to do a deferral and not do anything. Hopefully, sometimes we can get them to apply for the housing rehab program, and then we can go forward, they apply for that, and we can do the rehab and the weatherization at the same time. But that's not always the case. The funding that we use for our weatherization program is funded through Nevada Housing Division. We have Department of Energy funds, FIAC funds, low housing income or low housing trust funds, LIHEAP funds, and we do have private sector funds as well. So on to the housing rehab program. So this is eligible to a low income, which is 60% of area median. So it's a little bit of a higher income, but not a whole lot. What I've kind of run across is we service the low, but it's mainly, like Bob had mentioned that they're on fixed incomes. And I have found the exact same thing, that they're seniors. They have a very low fixed income. They can't afford any higher payments for electricity or gas, or whether they're using wood, a lot use wood or pellets, that type of stuff to heat their home. They're elderly, trying to pay for that. So in the housing rehab program, we service 15 counties rural-wide for that. And those funds are low-income housing trust funds through the state of Nevada housing division. Those funds work a little bit different. There is a lien on the property, and depending on the amount of money we spend on that home, it could be 5, 10, or 15 years. So if you spend, I think it's under, let me look at my notes here. So if it's 15 years, or if it's $15,000, it'll be a 5-year grant. Anything over 15 can go to 10-year grant. It is released after they have lived in the home for that amount of time. If they sell the property, move, change title, that amount becomes due back to the state. But that can cover a lot of items. We do anything with any hazards, health or safety, energy conservation. We can do roofs. We can do anything that's environmental. We do, if it's pre-78, we do have to do a lead-based paint test on them. So if there's any lead hazards in the home, those need to be taken care of. That does rise the cost usually, because we're in the rurals. A lot of times the costs on most things are a lot higher than they would be if we weren't. So you're paying for travel and, everything to the freight, that type of stuff. But that does go in and do a lot more repairs. You can do plumbing, you can do electrical. A lot of people don't have the electrical load to carry a new heat pump or, something like that. So then that's why the weatherization would be a deferral, and we could come in with the rehab, do those repairs, and then do the weatherization as well. So they can kind of get both programs and get, more work done to their home. We do find that a lot of the rurals have mobile homes. Those, and they're a lot older, so they need a lot of repairs on them. They're very drafty. They're spending a lot of money for energy, or, like I said, there are seniors that are trying to heat with space heaters, or, trying to get somebody to deliver them wood for their wood stove, those types of things. So in being able to leverage the two funds is great. But like I said, the homeowner rehab is for homeowners. We do deal with a lot of renters as well. So then they would be able to get those funds. But we try to do what we can versus deferring and not being able to service them. So I think that's probably all I have for those two programs. But we do a lot with very little. So
Doreen, Bob had kind of indicated about how many homes a year they're seeing. Do you have those that data handy?
That we're servicing?
How many households you're servicing?
Okay, for both my programs, we do have a waiting list for the weatherization program, and that waiting list is per county because we service 10 counties. So probably the waiting list, I'm probably looking at 30 or 40 on that we don't get serviced for that year, and then they just go into the next year. We probably service anywhere, as far as the weatherization program, anywhere from, 40 to 60 homes on a really good year that we, everything runs smoothly. The past year or so, and this year it didn't run as smoothly because we ran into a lot of problems with the contractor, getting and obtaining and keeping employees. That was tough. Getting items in, there was six weeks or better wait on HVACs and windows, and so it just really drug out a lot of projects. And we didn't see that in the recent past, but it's kind of showing up now. So it just kind of depends on the year. So I would say anywhere between 40 to 60 as far as the weatherization program that we serve. And we do, that's just still leaving a waiting list. And like I said, each county, so I've got 10 waiting lists for weatherization. And then with the housing rehab, those projects are a little more involved. So I would probably say I only do maybe 5 or 8 homes a year on those, but you're looking at $25,000 to $30,000 worth of repairs per home. Sometime, I mean, average. And so those repairs, again, that's 15 counties. So we do have a waiting list for that as well. Sometimes people are on the waiting list for, anywhere from 2 years or longer, waiting to get repairs done, just because, as of right now, I don't have any more rehab funds available to me. So, we've applied for the home needs data. So we're just kind of waiting on that to see where that goes, because we could service a whole lot more, but it's just very limited on what we have right now.
Awesome. Thanks, Doreen.
You bet.
A quick question, and then I want to get to Kirsten, but it keeps coming to the front of my mind. And I know you kind of rolled off quite a few acronyms. And so I should also tell our group, it's too easy in our world to be acronym heavy. So we'll all try to remember to spell things out for all of us. But did you mention, because Bob mentioned he accesses community development block grant funds through some of our local governments in the South, the CDBG funds. With any of your work in the rural, do you access any of the CDBG funds?
We don't. We had in the past, but we have not.
Yeah, I was just in my housing space. I know that's something we talk about, is prioritizing housing as a use of CDBG funds also in the rural areas. So
Right.
I wondered about that. So thank you, Doreen.
Yeah,
Stick with us, of course, because I have a whole list of questions, and you hit on some of them too, workers and the shortage and costs. But I'm also really excited to bring forward Kirsten Stasio. Kirsten is the director for the Nevada Clean Energy Fund, which I would imagine for many of you is new. It's something new that you've heard of, but it has been around a couple of years. She's going to talk about how it started. But when I first met Kirsten, we were talking about energy efficiencies, right? And affordable housing being a player in, preventing or slowing down, mitigating climate change and some of the impacts that development can have, and how our developers are good stewards and are installing solar and other things. Anyway, I'm really excited because as she's fairly new to her position, she's already built incredible relationships across the state and is working hard to roll out some awesome programs. So I will turn it over to Kirsten.
Thank you so much, Christine. Glad to be here today. I'm going to share some slides to help with my introduction to the Nevada Clean Energy Fund and talking about the significance of energy in our home. Okay, so as Christine mentioned, the Nevada Clean Energy Fund is a relatively new organization, and we come at the issue and topic of affordable housing from the energy standpoint. The Nevada Clean Energy Fund, or NCEF, it was established by state legislation in 2017. So we have government ties, even though we're a nonprofit. As a nonprofit organization whose mission is to accelerate clean energy growth in this state. Because as Christine alluded to, that clean energy growth can be a really powerful engine for addressing climate change, but also improving the health and comfort of Nevadans and reducing energy costs, and as a result, housing costs, and also creating jobs and economic development. So what the Nevada Clean Energy Fund does in practice is we provide technical assistance and financial resources to a variety of stakeholders, ranging from residents and small businesses to schools and local governments. And the clean energy measures that we support can include things like building energy upgrades, like better insulation and weatherization and more efficient air conditioning, to community solar and energy storage projects, to things like fleet electrification. For example, we're doing a lot of work with school districts across the state right now on electrifying their bus fleet. So NCEF was formed primarily as an investment and lending entity. So the primary financing tool we use is not grants, but low interest loans and other loan products. So I appreciate the question that Carol asked earlier, because loan products can be very effective at scaling these solutions across bigger populations, and also make a lot of sense in the clean energy space, because most of the clean energy measures that are available to residents today to take, it can save them money, and ultimately are profitable. They may just have to come up with the upfront capital to make that investment. So, even one of the goals that the Nevada Clean Energy Fund has is, not to make a loan that increases folks' expenses. So the interest payment on that loan would be less than the energy savings that they're realizing through pursuing that clean energy measure. And then, of course, you've got the health and climate and other benefits that come with those measures as well that I talked about. So I want to talk a little bit about energy in our homes because this is one of the priority focus areas for the Nevada Clean Energy Fund. When folks think about energy, they may often think about electricity or solar panels or natural gas, but folks should also think about energy in terms of the essential services that it provides, right? Like keeping our homes cool in the summer, getting our kids to their soccer games, and giving us cold beers and hot showers, in the words of Amory Lovins. So energy, it's ubiquitous in our lives, and how we source our energy and manage our built environment, such as our homes, can have significant implications for our costs, our health, and our climate. From an economic standpoint, in 2020, Nevadans spent an average of $5,400 a year on energy expenditures, not just electricity and natural gas in our home, but I like to include gasoline as well. Especially because the opportunity to reduce that cost involves basically using our home as a gas station, which is exciting. But I imagine that number has increased since 2020, given the current state of fuel prices that I know we're all feeling. The health implications too can range from having unhealthy temperatures inside the home because there's a lack of weatherization or inefficient heating and cooling, to poor indoor air quality because we're basically combusting a fossil fuel or natural gas in our homes for heating and cooking, to poor local air quality from pollution from our cars. And given the low income focus of today's Lunch and Learn, as well as the Nevada Clean Energy Fund, it's important to understand that this cost and health burden, it's often disproportionately borne by underserved communities, like low income communities and people of color. They spend the greatest portion of their income on energy expenditures. And as you can see on the chart on the left, a fifth of the population, this was very surprising to me when this new data came out from the EIA, a fifth of the population faces the hard decision of foregoing food or medicine versus turning on their air conditioning or heat. So pretty striking. And as you can see on the chart on the right, these communities are most exposed to air pollution from our energy use because of where their homes are located and their jobs are located relative to sources of air pollution, like our highways. And these underserved communities, they typically lack the resources to change this, to invest in clean and efficient energy, to bring those energy costs down and reduce that air pollution. And just make a note on current events. These energy security challenges, they're only getting worse. Temperature rise in the last few decades is exacerbating the need for more efficient air conditioning and weatherization. And it's also causing aridification in the southwestern US, which is reducing water supplies like from the Colorado River and Hoover Dam, that is straining power resources with the potential to put upward pressure on electricity prices. And I'm sure we've all been feeling the effects of current international geopolitics on prices that we pay at the pump. But the good news is that there are a lot of cost-effective clean energy measures that we can take today to save money on our utility bills and our gasoline bills. I took this snapshot from the DOE, but they haven't updated their regular gasoline prices quite yet. But these measures, like I said, they range from things like better duct sealing and insulation, more efficient air conditioning, LED lighting, smart thermostats, heat pumps, et cetera. So there are a lot of different solutions out there. The challenge is that a lot of barriers exist to residents investing in these clean energy measures. Let's say a resident's air conditioning broke in the middle of summer. They may not know what the most efficient replacement product is, and they may not have the time to research it. They just need to get new air conditioning and it's hot, right? They may not be able to find a trusted contractor to install the more efficient product. And the contractor isn't necessarily going to go out of his or her way to install the more efficient product because they don't pay the utility bill. So incentives aren't really aligned. And then finally, the resident may not have, particularly for low-income communities, they might not have the cash to pay to replace that air conditioning. So it's not an easy process to navigate. And there are not necessarily many comprehensive programs or resources available in Nevada to help residents through this process. My fellow panelists highlighted some really great programs that are available, like the Weatherization Assistance Program, but it's only available to folks under 200% of the poverty line, which is largely the extremely low income and very low income portions of the population. So super important, but that means that the rest of the population, including a significant portion of the low income population, don't have resources to turn to. As Carol and others referred to in the chat, implementing a low interest loan program could provide more potential for scaling solutions across a broader portion of the population. So what we really need in this state is a comprehensive home energy upgrade loan program to help folks through this process and enable them to invest in the right measures for them. We've actually seen some very successful programs, statewide programs implemented in several other states in the US, Connecticut, Colorado, Michigan. Colorado probably has or California probably has about 10, given California's resources and focus on clean energy. But these programs, they've been around for some of them almost a decade or more, and they've been helping folks in those states save significant amounts of money on their energy bills. So this is a big focus of the Nevada Clean Energy Fund. We're working to stand up a similar home energy upgrade loan program in this state, using those proven models from other states. What a home energy upgrade loan program looks like would include building a trusted contractor network so folks know who to turn to, providing credit enhancements with local lenders to really catalyze their capital into the clean energy space and keep interest rates low, and make that credit more accessible to the LMI community. And then also defining a pre-qualified list of eligible clean energy measures so that residents don't have to figure out what the most efficient measure is themselves. So definitely stay tuned, and we're building this program right now, and we welcome input and partnerships, and I have my contact info on this page.
Thanks, Kirsten. So you mentioned the comprehensive energy home loan program and what you're working to build. When can we expect that to be available for Nevadans?
So we might launch it in phases because a program for, say, like energy efficient appliances might look different than a program for some of the bigger measures that get implemented. So you might see, say, an energy efficient appliance program get rolled out sometime next year, and then the bigger appliance one maybe towards the end of next year would be my goal, but it's a work in progress.
Awesome. And how are people going to find out? I know how to call you, but do you anticipate really working closely more with the banks or groups like Rebuilding Together, Northern and Southern Nevada, RNDC, and other nonprofits in the space for referral?
Yeah, definitely. I think what we've seen from programs in other states is the contractor engagement is key, because contractors really have that frontline relationship with the residents. We'll be doing a lot of outreach through contractors, and then also community-based social marketing, so reaching out through community leaders and other nonprofit and community organizations like yourselves.
Excellent. And then before I move on to the whole group, the Clean Energy Fund and the work across the country is really interesting, obviously. But could you just touch on a couple other programs that people might not be aware that are available now too, that won't necessarily be flowing through NSF?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, there are a few programs available that I want to make sure folks know about. The Federal Housing Administration, they have an energy efficient mortgage program that allows homeowners to finance energy efficient improvements with their FHA insured loan. So that's something to be aware of. And I know there are a couple lending institutions in Nevada who participate. And then NV Energy has what they call their PowerShip program that provides a free energy audit to folks, and also a free smart thermostat, which is a great first step in assessing kind of the energy efficiency opportunities in the home. And I know the rural electric utilities in other states and NRDC has RNDC, excuse me, has their programs as well for outside of NV Energy's service territory.
Awesome, and I'm feeling a conference topic. Amanda and I just met with NV Energy, and I think there's an awesome opportunity to maybe share this even more broadly and dig in deeper in the conference. A couple questions, and this may be for you, Doreen, although you're also dipping into the rural, Bob. Carol did ask for manufactured homes, if there's an interest in using manufactured home replacement funds at USDA. And I know you talked about that, Doreen, which did cause me some alarm that some of the homes are in too much disrepair, but they may or may not have an opportunity to go through rehab. So I don't know if that's been something you've considered, particularly for manufactured homes.
You know, we did that with our housing rehab program, gosh, 18 years ago, I'm guessing. It just was very costly. We used our housing rehab funds to purchase mobile homes for people that their house was either too dilapidated or they were living in a camp trailer or those types of things. But we kind of got away from that just because it ate up so much of the funds. We didn't have, like I said, you only are allowed so much per year, and we couldn't service other persons with repairs for their homes. So we got away from doing that. So no, I didn't know about the replacement program.
Yeah, I have a meeting with the new state director for USDA-RD coming up. So that's something I'd like to learn more about. Maybe we can share that. And
Yeah.
Bob, I see you nodding. It looks like a program you'd like to learn a little more about too. And Carol put a link in the chat there.
Yeah, we run across maybe 10 of the manufactured homes a year that we just can't help. The home is too far gone.
Yeah, well, the information has been incredible and we're at our time, but I do have a couple questions I'm going to ask you all. So I asked Kirsten, but specifically Doreen and Bob, how do people refer clients to you?
So are you asking like how they do
Someone
it
knows
now?
of someone who might want to participate in your programs. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Well, phone, we've got a Facebook page, we've got a website. We are currently running statewide ads right now to kind of build up the waiting list for the new coming year. So, we have people contacting us, oh, my neighbor got windows and doors, what do I need to do? So a lot of it's word of mouth, but just, calling or getting online or sending us an email or however, we get them all different ways.
Bob, I see you nodding your head.
Yeah, you can call our main office, the 259-4900, and do an application over the phone, or you can do an application through our website.
Great. And we touched on workers being a challenge, Doreen. Does RNDC actually employ staff that does the work in the homes, or is everything contracted out?
No, we work with a contractor out of Las Vegas, and they employ them. They have employees that do the work for them, but we work really close with the contractor, and they did run into that a lot recently. He said I had 7 interviews set up, 3 showed up, the other didn't even show up. They only lasted a couple of days. It's just been an ongoing problem for a little while. I haven't heard anything recently, so I'm hoping maybe it's kind of corrected itself. Yeah, but they have had some issues with employees. So yeah, we do have our inspectors. We have one inspector in Ely that we employ, and then another inspector in Las Vegas that we employ as well. And then the employees within our office, but no, we don't employ the workers themselves.
Bob, I think you probably have some team members and then maybe also contract out. Is that right?
Correct. We have an air conditioning contractor, general contractor, and a plumbing contractor that we use very regularly. And then for the smaller repairs, the safe at home repairs, we do have our own employees in-house that do that, as well as an inspection team and the paperwork team.
Yes, we at Rebuilding Together Northern Nevada are starting that climb. So I could imagine that you have a fairly robust team. Last question, and I might throw in an extra one in there, but because I'm in the policy mindset right now, and we can kind of combine policy and resources. But if you could wave your magic wand and adjust the policy or adjust resources, increase resources, how would that look for you to make a difference? Especially Kirsten, I think of NSF, and it's a fairly new program. And I know your model actually brings in private dollars, I believe, but yet you're tied to our government. So I don't know if you've looked at some policy changes or resource opportunities that could be freed up. But that would be my question for all of you as you think about the gaps that you see and that we've even heard a little bit of today, what we could do better or differently.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
And am I?
There, you're unfrozen.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The Nevada Clean Energy Fund was established as a nonprofit entity so that we could combine multiple sources of funding. Most other entities like myself and others, like the Nevada Clean Energy Fund in other states, they do get significant seed funding, typically from their state. But then they take that funding and they leverage it to mobilize private capital, like through credit enhancements with local lenders, but also, my background is in the private energy investment space, and there's a lot of interest from the private investors to invest in the clean energy and climate space and really have an impact with their dollars, but they just may not know how to access those opportunities. So that's another area where I'm focused on kind of building some investment vehicles to bring in some of this private capital to support some of the work that we're doing.
Awesome. Bob or Doreen, do you have any other magic wand type of things?
I do. So one of RNDC's major funding for weatherization is Department of Energy funds, the DOE. It has really tough restrictions on those funds, and that's our main source of funds. So sometimes I have to get very creative with leveraging funds, which I don't always have a lot of leveraging funds. Sometimes I don't have many at all. Hence the reason for deferral, or I put them on to the next year, these applicants. But so I guess magic wand would be there wasn't as many restrictions and more funding for the rural areas. The rural areas, we really don't get a whole lot of funding. Like I said, we do a whole lot with very little, but we do what we can. So probably more funding for the rurals, less restrictions on the DOE. They also have, some pretty tough restrictions on the types of inspectors I can use, and they have to, obviously they need to be trained, and they are, but they've got some big restrictions on the DOE funding energy auditors, inspectors. So they're really tough to get. But I have one, and I'm working on another that will be probably licensed for DOE inspections here shortly, but it's taken quite a while. So there's my magic wand.
Awesome. And Bob, I'm envisioning you with the magic wand. I can see you ready.
Yeah, if we could have our wish, it would be the reporting portion of our, the CDBG reporting and the home funds reporting is just unbelievable. The amount of paperwork it takes to, you justify every mile you drive and every dollar for every employee. And instead of just giving us we're lucky enough to get, like with home funds or some of the funds we get from Clark County, it's just a flat rate. for every dollar we spend, we get 18 or 20 cents in general operating funds, and then we can use it as we need to run the office the way we see fit. And obviously everything falls into where it's supposed to, but the amount of paperwork that my finance manager has to do for some of these grants is unbelievable. And for us, we're larger, so it's helpful. But I know that in the Northern Nevada, and we have 125 affiliates across the country, there are some of the smaller affiliates that just, their money for them to get that they desperately need, but they don't have the capacity to have somebody do the paperwork. And it's a full-time position once you get past 2 or 3 CDBG grants. And that needs, the amount of paperwork needs to change. Because it's not necessary.
Compliance, there's no such thing as free money, is there? And we definitely appreciate the accountability that the compliance brings, of course, but for smaller nonprofits and for some of this work, it definitely does sound like it presents a challenge. I'm just going to highlight one of the things I heard. It does encourage me, though, that there are restrictions to selling a home, right? When they get major work done. I did like hearing that, because I think about these funds going in and helping, and I hope that the homeowners are able to enjoy those for a longer period of time. So I liked that, and that was new. I learned actually a lot of new things, and I do see an opportunity at the conference to explore these topics a little further. So I'll look forward to that. Well, thank you. I'm sorry, everyone. It was too interesting for me. I kept this group a little longer, but I sure appreciate you sharing your expertise, your knowledge, and the important work that you're doing in your programs. And join us next month, July 27th, Amanda. I think I got that date right, July 27th, and we'll be focusing again on affordable home ownership and specifically learning about programs for down payment assistance. But we've also asked how things have changed with the hot housing market, right? With the high median prices on homes across the state, what that means as we try to assist homeowners, first-time home buyers, and other lower income home buyers to purchasing homes. So thank you, everyone.